Okay, folks, so I'm going to go through this worksheet and these two strategies again because as I'm looking at the independent work that you've done the past few days, I feel as if students aren't really understanding what they need to do. Maybe it's a format of the worksheet, maybe we just need to go through it again, but this is that important that I want to spend just a little bit more time with it. And I'm going to go through the first 3 or 4 and I'm going to do it and you're going to watch me do it. And then I'm going to release you so that you can do the last few yourself. Because like I said, the last few were the easiest ones. But it really is important that we use this strategy with each essay prompt that we get and that we know how to do this essay prompt strategy. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start off with my drawing tool. Okay. And the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do the do what strategy. Okay. So I'm going to put my do. Okay. And then I'm going to put my what. Okay, so I'm going to do the do what strategy for the first couple ones, and then I'll go back and do a second video with the same prompts with the TTQA, just because there's not enough room for me to write. So do what. I'm going to dismiss that. Okay, so I'm going to look for my do words. You have read, so we got to read. Okay, again, I'm looking for my do words. You have read Animal Architects, Creative Animals, and Animals at Home, all of which discuss where animals live and how they create their homes. Imagine. So that, notice that verb is at the beginning of the sentence. That's a do word. It's telling me what I need to do. Imagine that you are a famous scientist requesting money to study these animals. Write a letter requesting funding from, circle requesting because that's a verb, funding from the government, arguing, and what are we arguing? Why it is or is not important to study these animals. In your essay, explain what animals do to survive in their environment according to each of the 3 texts. So I'm going to put a text box in here. Okay, this is a lot of verbs, but we're going to get to them. We're going to read. We're going to imagine. We're going to write. We're going to request, and don't worry, I'll move that box appropriately in just a moment. Requesting. Okay, we're going to arguing, and then we're explaining. Okay, so I'm just going to move this box up. Actually, you know what I may do? I may put it right up there. I might put my do what strategy right there, just so you guys can see it. Do. Okay, so now let's go over and let's do our what words. So we have our do words. Now we got to find our what words. And our what words are going to be right next to the do words. Just remember, they're going to be right there next to the do words. Okay, so what are we reading? Okay, 3. I'm actually put it as a separate text box. I'm going to put another one over here. Hopefully it'll let me put it, will it? Let's see. Oh, no, won't do it. Part of it, I think, is that this is tough to do on the computer. If we were in class, I'd have you kind of marking it all up. Okay, but now we need to do our what words. And our what words are, I'm going to add another text box here. I'm going to kind of do that. Okay, and our what words are, what are we going to do? What words? Okay, we're going to read 3 texts. Okay, I'm getting it from right up here. We're going to imagine we are a famous scientist. Okay, we are going to write a letter. We are going to request funding from the government. And we are going to argue. What are we arguing? Why it is important to study these animals. Okay, again, I'm just going back and finding my words. Then finally, what are we doing? We're explaining what animals come on, do to survive. Okay, So notice, guys, that I just did the do what strategy. Now I realize as I'm doing it myself that the text structure is a little bit challenging. I'm going to actually have to probably move this a little bit. But ultimately, this is what the strategy should look like. So I'm going to go and I'm going to erase this right here. Can I get it to erase? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. All right. So I've gone through right now and I've done the do what strategy with that first prompt. Now I need to do my second strategy, and my second strategy is my TTQA. So for this strategy, I'm going to do it in a different color just so you can see it. Actually, I'm going to probably do it in red. Okay, so remember, you have to read the question, okay, and you have to find your question word. So I can tell you right off the hop that my question word is right there. Okay, there's a lot of other words in this text, but that is my question word. So now I'm going to take everything from that to the mark of punctuation. Okay, so it, actually, you know what, I'm going to erase that. I'm going to put it in as a, I'm going to put it in as a text box. I just have an easier time writing in text box. I don't know about you guys, but I just find text box easier. Now I'm found my question word and I'm writing everything to the right of it. It is important to study. Now notice I had a choice, so I'm choosing. Is it important? Is it not? I'm going to say it is. To study these animals. Now remember, I need to add a link between my reason, or my opinion, excuse me, and my reason. So this right now is just a topic sentence. But because the word was why, I know I need to add the word because. So now I have done the TTQA and the do what strategy. So I know that I need to read the text. I need to imagine that I am a famous scientist. I need to request funding. I need to argue why it is important to study these animals. I need to explain what these animals do to survive in their environments. Okay, so I know that all those things are things I need to do, and I know what I need to look for in the text. But because I do the TTQA, I've already written my topic sentence or my thesis statement. So it is important to study these animals because blank. Okay, now notice, I'm writing a letter, so it's going to have to be a little bit more creative than you would traditionally do in an essay, but this works. So let's do the second one. Let's do another one, okay? And we're going to go back to our drawing tool. We're going to do our do what strategy first, because ultimately, that's what we need to do. So we're going to identify. What are we identifying? Which of these sources would be the most helpful, okay, in understanding how animals and plants work together, okay? Then, what are we doing next? Okay, notice the verbs are always at the beginning of the sentence. We're examining. What are we examining? We're examining each source, okay? What are we doing next? We're identifying. What are we identifying? Which source was the most helpful? Okay, again, notice another verb at the beginning of a sentence. We're explaining. What are we explaining? Why that source was the most helpful. Again, another sentence starting with a verb. We're going to use, what are we using? At least two details. And we're supporting. What are we supporting? We're supporting your explanation. Okay, so notice everything that's circled is a do word, and that should go into your do column. Everything that's underlined is a what word or a what phrase. Now, I need to now do my TTQA. I know I'm skipping the chart, but the chart takes a lot of time, and I really just want to focus on the strategy with you. Okay, so this question is made up of a lot of different question words, okay? So this is a tricky question to do the TTQA with because you have multiple questions. So remember, our question words are who, what, when, where, why, how, okay? Which can also be a question word, but I'm not going to really work with that because that's not the one that I'm teaching you today. I'm really working with why. Okay, so our why word there is really what we want to focus on. So ignore the which words even though they are question words, they're really not the most important ones. So we're going to take the word why and we're going to look to the right of it. Everything from the question word why all the way to the period, the mark of punctuation. So the source that was the most helpful was blank because. Now notice this doesn't work 100%. I have to kind of put some fillers in there to make it make sense. But this is ultimately part of my topic or thesis statement. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. I'm going to go down and do one more. Okay, I'm going to do number 3, and then I'm going to release you guys to do the rest of them on your own. Okay, again, I'm showing you and reviewing with you the TTQA strategy, and I'm really doing it with the hardest prompts that are here. Okay, when your class returns from the library, your classmates begin to share what they learned about different service animals. They begin to discuss the new rule that allows only dogs in public spaces. So I'm going to cross that out. That whole first sentence is first 2 sentences, excuse me, are another example of the author giving us background knowledge. Now, that's not part of the prompt. It's just helping us to understand it a little bit more. My prompt or my question, my task is really right there. What am I doing? I'm pretending that your teacher has asked you to write an essay explaining your opinion on the new rule. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. In your paper, you will take, and take is a do word, aside as to whether you agree or disagree with the new rule. You will make sure that you clearly state, so state is a do word, your opinion, and that you include, okay, so include is one of those verbs. Remember we did them, details from the 3 sources. Okay, be sure that you include direct quotations from the text and that you address, oh, let me go back here and I'll leave that there, the counter argument. So all that I did is I found my verbs, and then whatever was to the right of it was my what word. So in this prompt, we need to pretend that you are the teacher, and you're asked to write an essay explaining your opinion on a new rule. We're going to take a side about whether we agree with it. We're going to state our opinion. We're going to include details from the 3 sources. We're going to include direct quotations, and we're going to address the counter argument. Now notice, I'm not doing the do-what strategy again with you guys in the chart form because right now I really want to focus on TTQA, okay? So right now, this is a narrative writing prompt. So I'm going to put, oh, nope, not what I want to do. No TTQA, okay? Because it's a narrative writing prompt, there isn't a TTQA that I can do with it. But if there was, I would look for the words why, what, how, when. But because those words aren't there, I know that that is not what I'm doing. And it's also, I know it's not an essay because the word that it starts with is pretend. So it's asking me to pretend something. So I know that I am not going to be writing an essay, and the TTQA only works with an essay. Okay, so that's where we're going to leave off. What I want you to do right now, you've seen me do numbers 1 through 3. Okay, just make sure you mark up yours so that it looks like this one. But then I want you to do 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And remember, this is a Word document, so if you need to, I can't do it right now because I'm in a Screencastify, but if you need to, you can always push this document down as far as you need to go, and you can create a T-chart in there yourself. But ultimately, those are the 2 things that you needed to do. I had a number of students that were either doing one or the other. I also had a number of students that were trying to answer the question, and that really wasn't what you were asked to do. So remember, the TTQA, turn the question around, and the do-what strategy are 2 strategies we can use with any essay prompt. It has to be an essay prompt. Number 3 was not. It was a narrative essay. And we can use these strategies before we even read our text